Adam and Eve, in other words, us, we have to keep the commandments of God. Now you'll see in your new Bibles that has been changed. In order to get back to the tree of life, we have to now wash our robes. Well, excuse me, we'll have to look at that text in context with the sanctuary, because many theologians defend that and they say, well, those are our spiritual robes, the robes of our righteousness. No, it's not what it says. And even if you do take that idea, it doesn't say that. The Afrikaans translation, and have a look in the new Bibles in Afrikaans, you'll see it says klere, not even geestelike kleed, not even your spiritual robes, it's your physical clothes. And I say to them, okay, wash my clothes with what? Skip or Omo or Sunlight soap? You see, as soon as you look in the sanctuary, you realize that there's a movement to go back to the most holy. There's a movement to go back to God. In order to get back to the tree of life, we have to keep the commandments, because that's what's in the most holy. But if you turn around and you face the other way, what's standing out in the outer court? The laver. That's why these new Bibles turn Christianity around and say, you don't have to keep the commandments of God, rather wash your robes. It becomes much clearer in the next couple of lectures. So we've looked at Adam and Eve. By the way, before I close off the subject of Adam and Eve, did they walk in the sanctuary? Yes, they did. They were in the most holy, or had access to the Shekinah glory. Bang, when it closed, they lost their robes of righteousness. They were stuck outside, and the Lord led them to the sacrificial system to sacrifice the lamb. So Moses walked in the sanctuary. Adam and Eve walked in the sanctuary. What about Cain and Abel? Do you think Adam and Eve taught them about the sanctuary? Do you think that was passed down? Did Adam and Eve tell Cain and Abel about the sanctuary? Let's just look at the sacrificial part of the sanctuary. Yes, of course they did. How do we know? Because they both brought an offering, a sacrificial offering. Let's read it together. Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord, and Abel, well, he brought of the firstlings of his flock. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And the Lord said unto Cain, if thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted? What happened with Adam and Eve? I beg your pardon. What happened with Cain and Abel? Right? They both brought an offering. Did Cain bring the best that he had? Yes. Did Abel bring the best that he had? Yes. So why did the Lord reject Cain's offering? What was the problem with Cain's offering? Why did the Lord accept Abel's offering but not Cain's offering? Do you remember what it says in Hebrews 9? Without the shedding of blood, there's no remission. You see, Cain brought vegetables, and even if it's beetroot, it's still not blood. So the Lord had said, here's the sacrificial system. This is what you need to teach your children, Adam and Eve. They passed that information down. Cain decided that that little part wasn't as important. In other words, he decided for himself that, yes, it's accurate, but it's not that important. I'm going to bring a sacrifice, but I'll decide the type of sacrifice I'll bring. And the Lord rejected and said, I can't take it because I can't accept it because it's not what I asked for. It's the same today, brothers and sisters. The Lord is asking for a specific type of worship from us. And we do not have the right to look at the word and say, well, I know that's maybe correct, but for me it doesn't really matter. That's a problem that we often see today. I have some people that come to me or came to me at somewhere where I was. I can't remember exactly. And this person said to me, yes, I know the Sabbath is correct. According to the Bible, you Seventh-day Adventists are correct, but for me it doesn't matter. I thought, wow, isn't that similar to Cain? He knew what he had to do, but for him it wasn't important. Did the Lord just say, it doesn't matter, Cain, I'll accept it anyway? No. There's reasons that certain things are in place. And we do not have the right to either accept and reject certain things of God. We do as we are asked. Well, we've looked at Moses in the sanctuary. We've looked at Adam and Eve in the sanctuary. We've looked at Cain and Abel in the sanctuary. What about Abraham? Let's look at Abraham. Let me ask you a question. Where do you think Abraham lived in the sanctuary? I'm talking spiritually now, of course. Would he have lived in the most holy? No, because he didn't walk in the presence of God. Was he busy with godly stuff? Yes, absolutely. Look into the holy place and tell me, spiritually now, was he a man that would have been involved in the scriptural things? In other words, if he had a Bible, would he have been a Bible student? Absolutely. Was he a man that was prepared to speak about God? Absolutely. You got the bread of life. I'm talking about the holy place. You got the light of the world, taking out the gospel to the world. Was he a man who was involved in prayer? Oh, yes. The smoke, the altar of incense. So spiritually, Abraham would have been in or lived spiritually in the holy place. Now let's read what happens. Genesis 22, verses 1 to 5. And it came to pass that God said to Abraham, take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, get thee into the land of Moriah and offer him there for a burnt offering. Just stop there for a moment, right? Look at these fantastic words. Take thy son, thine only son whom you love. Does it sound familiar? This is my begotten son, in whom I'm well pleased, my only son whom I love. There's a fantastic parallel here. Abraham with Isaac and God with Jesus. Look at the parallels. God had to sacrifice his son. Abraham had to sacrifice his son. Let's read on. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and went unto the place which God had told him. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, listen carefully, and he laid it upon Isaac his son. Just like God laid the cross of sin on Jesus, Abraham took the wood and the burnt offering and he laid it upon Isaac. Let's read on. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spoke unto Abraham his father and said, my father, behold the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. Isn't that amazing? The parallels there. God is going to provide himself a lamb for the burnt offering. Prophetic words, many years before Christ was born. Right? Because there's a process, there's a parallel going on. And notice how many days they walked out into the desert or into the wilderness. 3 days. Now remember, in prophecy, a day is equal to a year. So Jesus, how long was his ministry? 3.5 years. Fantastic parallels here. Abraham sacrificing his son, God sacrificing his son, and the lamb being provided for that sacrifice. Let's read on. They came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order. Note those words. We'll get to Elijah just now. A very interesting parallel there. Abraham laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son and laid him upon the altar of wood. And the Lord said, because thou hast done this thing and hast not withhold thy son, I will bless thee. Because you have sacrificed or have been willing to sacrifice your son, you understand what I'm going to have to go through. And therefore, I will bless thee. We've looked at, let's think about it. Moses in the sanctuary. We've looked at Adam and Eve in the sanctuary. Cain and Abel in the sanctuary. Abraham in the sanctuary. What about Elijah? Can we see Elijah's depiction in the sanctuary? Right? You've looked at Abraham now, and I explained that spiritually he lived in the holy place, and he walked 3 days out into the wilderness to sacrifice his son out there at the sacrificial altar. Right? Now we have Elijah. What happens with Elijah? Can we see that in the sanctuary? Well, let's read it together. Turn in your Bibles or read it off the screen. 1 Kings 18. Elijah said, now therefore send and gather all Israel unto me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. That's 850 prophets of another God besides God, our Bible God. And Elijah came to all the people and said, how long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. You see, there was a tossing and turning. People couldn't make up their mind. Are they going to follow God or are they going to follow Baal? The Baal worshippers, Baal in South Africa, is the